Good morning, grown black folks talk on the climb. Shout out, I believe, Elegant Pawpaws brought to my attention that sometimes my camera slips to below my face, so y'all have a hard time seeing my expression. What happens is I do these videos, I've already walked with my poles and my arms get tired, so I'm not always conscious of that, but thank you for bringing it to my attention so that I can make sure to position my arms in the camera so that you can actually focus on my face. Thanks a lot for the heads up. Okay, so I decided to give the video about Kevin Durant, what his actions betray about the 403-year argument that black men have with the United States of America. I decided to let that marinate for a minute. That was a 40-minute video. There was a lot of information. We looked over all these years of what black men have been through in America. And I pointed out that there are 25 rotations because the slave lived about 7 years from coming into slavery. But black men for the first 170, 180 years were largely imported alone because not until it was known that the slave trade was going to be ended was it necessary to import large numbers of women. And if you think about the amount of labor that it took to take essentially wild land and convert it into a European-style nation, it makes sense that you would want more men than women. So 25 rotations of men were turned to the ground without issue, without lineage, without legacy, without memory. And then, of course, by 1780, 1790, 1800, now you have the stories that people are most familiar with because now you have large numbers of black women also. And I said that when you understand the profundity of the injustice, you can understand where black men are in their thoughts in America. But I also said, we can't fix it, ladies. It cannot be done. There's no way. There's no way. We cannot be, the fact that we are asked to compensate for all that, it's not possible. It's not possible at all. Simply not possible. No human being can. And black men's anger with God has to do with the fact that God is taking his time. I had a commenter who asked me about when is God going to address white supremacy? And so I laid out to him that actually, if you look at it over time, where is the Confederacy? Where is Nazi Germany? Where is Jim Crow? And just for the record, where is Mr. 45 today? It's been addressed, but God is patient because God is not only giving white men a chance to repent. His patience with white men might be, sir, that you have a chance to repent. He deleted his comment and mine. He didn't want to hear that. Because the thing is, everybody has to deal with their life on an individual basis. Just like if you deal with God, you deal with God as an individual, with God. But let me also add this. Although black men have 25 additional rotations, I mentioned before, none of them have lineage or legacy. So that every black man today, this is why there are men who make the argument that reparations should be paid to black men only. Okay, on its face, this would be wrong because you would be owed 2/3, but I mean 3/4, but not all of it. But the other reason this would be wrong, and black men often forget this, every living black man who came from being enslaved has a foremother as well as a forefather. So in the same way that black men have been challenged all since the beginning of America with their masculinity, their existence as men has been challenged. Every living black man descends from a woman who had her femininity challenged, and there's a very specific challenge. The feminine is meant to operate in an environment in which the masculine performs for her admiration, her respect, and access to her. Go throughout creation, and you find this. If you look at the bird and the insect kingdom, you really see this. Males are bright and gaudy. Some of them have to prepare a nest. Some of them have to prepare a place. They have to prove they can build the best nest. You know, you go to the frog world, the bird world, the insect world, they got to make the loudest noise. They got to outcompete other males. And all the women do all the females do in this particular case is show up. And if you think about this, a woman considered attractive to any man, because men like all kinds of shapes and sizes, actually. She just has to show up. A man has to perform for access, to the point that if parts of his body are not working right, he still can't get access that he wants. The masculine must perform for admiration, respect, and access. Broken men do not want to receive this. And so black women descend from women who were denied this. They were denied this because their owners, the men who dared to say they owned them, were breakers. They were tyrants. They were terrorists. Yeah, I said that. I'm sitting by a statue dedicated to an American president, and yeah, I said that. Not those American presidents, as it happens. This is McKinley. But that was her master and sometimes her father. And this man was a breaker, attempting to compete with European lifestyle, attempting to show that he was as good as that person. And if he started out poor, his inferiority complex was huge. So that's the white men of the time. They were broken men, but they had the system to do the breaking. And she didn't experience proper masculinity, protected, providing masculinity from him. Could not. But also, her own man was broken. So in the same way that men who are black in America, of African descent in America, coming from the lineage of slaves, could not experience and develop into proper masculinity while in slavery, women could not develop into proper femininity while in slavery. Because she has a choice between two men that are broken, but one has the power to break everybody else. And again, all black men who descend from slaves have what? A black mother and a black father. So even though the rotation is longer for black men, the actual experience of suffering between black men and black women living, which is what they call epigenetics, is actually equal, because you have to have both. So in reality, living black men and women have been through the exact same experience. It just starts from around 1780, not all the way back to 1619. Now I'm not saying there weren't black women in the country before that, but because there was no impetus to breed, there was not as many. So those men who lived before that just lived and died, and that was it. Everybody living has to come from that. We start from the same place. That's a fact. Just as much as the fact that there are 25 rotations of men, it's just as much the fact that every living black person has a black mother, black father, or a black mother and a white father. And it all is a human soul-breaking experience. And we all have to do the work to recover from all the things that have been passed down. Everybody has to do their own work. I also need to add something else. I am not out here to argue with Malcolm X, who made the point that the black woman is the most disrespected person in America because she's the one person the black man thinks he can get away with disrespecting. Malcolm X said that. I'm not going to argue with the brother. On balance, though, we can just take it that we are equally challenged and call it a day. But this is also why we cannot, as black women, be expected to carry this load and solve these men. And that is also why you as an individual cannot be expected to carry the load of an individual man who is not at the point of doing the things necessary for his healing. The load is too heavy. It cannot be done. Can't be done. It is inappropriate for men to ask us to compensate them for all the incredible losses in men. What we need to do is heal and seek to experience. Now, what we can do is encourage, because there are men who are healing and growing and attempting to come back into a proper masculine frame. And again, I am not talking about how tall he is, how wide he is, how much money he has. All that, slave masters were broken men too. Little as we like to talk about it. And if we go back to that time period, we're not even talking about who he had sex with, because if you went into the intimate private lives, look up bump breaking. We're not talking about who this man chooses, who he chooses and chooses not to have sex with. We're talking about being confident enough to perform. What does the masculine have to do? The masculine has to prove that he deserves access to the feminine. He has to prove that he can provide for all the consequences of that access. Now, in nature, we're looking at genetic lineage. Human beings are a little bit more complicated. Human beings are body, soul, and spirit. Body, emotions, we got to combine a couple things. And then that part of us that can commune with God is the spirit. Soul would cover volition, intellect, emotions. You got to care for all of that in a woman. She's not a female. She's a woman. Body, soul, and spirit. And in all fairness, the other reason we need to heal is that the proper masculine expects a proper feminine response. And if you are constantly dealing with and arguing with men who are in their broken masculine, you're not learning what you need to learn. This is another reason why I say, stop arguing with people. Stop arguing with men. Leave alone all the questions of the violence that is going on right now. You want to be in environments where you practice responding properly to proper stimuli. So you learn how to leave circles of foolishness and drama with men. You learn how to discipline your online life that you're not in this. You learn how to seek circles online and off of men operating in their proper masculine, who are willing to demonstrate, show, and prove why they should have access to cooperation, why they should have access to the attention of the feminine. So, when you give up on the idea that you can solve a man, when you give up on the idea that men are going to heal unless they want to, take all that burden off. The other thing that goes with this, and this could be good or bad. This could be good or bad. The other thing that a woman can do that a man cannot. There's black men are mad at us right now because we have greater social capital, blah, blah, blah. Okay, you know what that means? You know what they fear? That basically boils down to they know that we can appeal to stronger masculine figures to be able to have our needs met. Because of economic changes, and then had a little bit to do with alcohol, heroin, weed, and then crack cocaine. When the economic changes came after the 50s, and then black men chose to cope using substances and selling substances, because, the United States government set this stuff up, but who moved it through the community? Even to this day. When that was the choice, black women were able to go. Lyndon B. Johnson showed up and peacocked by adding provisions so that women would come to believe on Uncle Sam. Black men are mad about that, but they don't understand that that's what happens when you choose to stay weak. Now, Jim Crow was just finished then. So if we want to give some grace to the generation of our grandfathers and fathers, but their grandsons and their sons have no grace on us. So, as time passed, heroin got in, weed got in, crack cocaine got in. Uncle Sam continued to provide, and black women kept moving. Now, they, continue to be more broken with their children, but black women found a way to kept moving. When things pop off in the community, black men know that Derek Chauvin can show up on their doorstep and that a woman can call of any color. Can go put him in the hands of a stronger man. Because these men come in blue, they come armed, they come with the power of the state. T. Hassan Johnson did a video on the Honest Report about, state-sponsored proxies. This is unfortunate. Like I said, this can be good or bad. Also, when it comes to men, black and white, weak men of all colors are out here in the United States complaining that because a woman does not feel that she's being treated right in a marriage, stronger men who run the judicial system, specifically divorce and family court, can get them things. To the point, black men are upset about child support. You can't live your best SYSBM life if you have child support in arrears. So that woman not only can go to stronger men to talk about taking money out of your check today, she also can have it set up so that you can't leave if you don't want to pay it. Black women are women. And as long as you remain women, and we will, we possess the feminine. The minute we reject the lies about us not being feminine and step into it, we step into having power to access the masculine and all men available. Because what do the masculine want to do? The masculine must perform for the admiration and respect of the feminine. And black men are upset because they do recognize that this works, but they do not know how to get to the good side of it. They're not always willing to put in the work on their own brokenness to get to the good side of it. Which is why if you are healing and rejecting the lies about your supposed masculinity and accept the fact that you are feminine, and I'm not talking about your size, your weight, your age. If you are a woman, you possess the feminine. Game over. Black women have done every kind of heavy labor that men have done and remain women. We don't become men just because of how we work in an Anglo-Saxon dominated society. If we did, there would be no black people living today. But no, we all possess the feminine. Men's ideas who barely have an idea about what it is to be a man ought not be allowed to dominate our thoughts on what it is to be a woman. So, the more we step into that, the more we heal and step into who we are, the more access we will have to benefits from other men who are perfectly willing to demonstrate why they should have the admiration and respect. And when you live in a country where white men want to be seen as superior, they will do more than anyone. Because they also realize their pretense isn't working on everybody anymore. I told you, Lyndon Johnson came across with it. He saw an opportunity, he took it. Men do that to weaker men all day. And black men know that we have this. So then they attempt to break us. They attempt to convince us that we don't possess the feminine. They attempt to convince us that the best thing we can do is turn back into a slave. You have the Roger Report talking about learn how to be a woman. A woman properly learning how to be a woman will not deal with men like that at all. Because you don't understand nature, you don't understand time of life, you haven't even looked at the stats on lifespan, and you don't even know what a woman is. Stop trying to fix men. Men have to discover their proper masculinity for themselves. We cannot do it for them. It harms them when we try, it harms us when we try. Heal, grow as a woman. Learn what to do to respond to proper masculinity, which puts you in a position of being able to encourage a growing, healing man, and perhaps to be found by a person that is at least as far in his process as you are. Because if you paid attention to the Kevin Durant video at all, that will not be fixed. I'm not talking about Kevin Durant per se, but I'm talking about the argument that black men have with America is an argument they have to choose to put it into for themselves individually. You have to deal with the history, you have to acknowledge the trauma, and choose to face forward instead of backwards. Imagine me trying to walk around out here in this park with my head going backwards. Imagine that. Imagine how many tree roots, trees, plants, bushes, statues I'm going to trip over for trying to walk forward looking backwards. Every black man has to give that up for himself, and so does every black woman. Be about your business, ladies. You cannot solve these men. You cannot solve an individual. One last thought. If you think about it, those of you that have children or have spent a significant amount of time teaching, at about the same time that you can no longer pick a son, a nephew, or a student up is when you also notice that he starts tuning you out and only listening to his dad or whoever the men nearby are in his life. Take that to heart. You need not attempt to carry a man who is too tall and too heavy for you to pick him up. This does not mean you abandon your teenage sons. I need to say that because I was on a show where people were talking to a woman like she should throw her teenage son away at 16. No, he's not an adult yet. You can still introduce him to men who can influence him in a positive direction. And as long as he lives at your house, eats your food, you are the commander of your home. But understand that being able to influence a man is a whole totally different thing than being able to change him. What you encourage, you get more of. What you discourage and disapprove of will eventually be shut down. But a man can always go somewhere else. And what you have to do is, if he has no intention of doing right, let him. Because here's the deal. As a Christian, I can tell you, if a man won't do right, I turn him over to the ultimate masculine, the creator of heaven and earth. Now, he does not have to perform, but he has already done so. This whole beautiful day and everything around you in the universe that you have ever seen. Already done. Provision, protection, to the rip. And then send his son, the Lord Jesus Christ, to take care of my sin problem. Provision, protection, eternity. Already done. All I have to do is gratefully obey and let him handle these weaker masculine entities who have no intention of doing the right thing. That's what you get to do when you are in tune with the Spirit of God. Now, there are women out there who also are dealing with higher masculine powers. You know, voodoo, hoodoo, African spirituality are all making a comeback for the same reason. And black men are very upset about it. But here's the thing. When you are not growing and healing and your demographics say that you are the weakest man in town and you still don't want to do right, and there's powers all the way up to the throne of God that a woman can call on, that's a dangerous situation for you. And black men know this. They know this, why they're so mad. That's why they're so upset with us. That's not our problem. Your problem is to grow, heal, separate from broken masculinity, encourage growing and healing masculinity, and withhold your benefits and access for proper masculinity that is willing to demonstrate all levels, body, soul, spirit, protection, and provision. Because again, it is the nature of the feminine to be, and the masculine to perform for access. If you don't understand this, go outside and watch the birds and see what happens. Read through history what men have done to win a woman. If you don't understand it, study it. And then learn how to step into true femininity. Size, weight, doesn't matter. You can do this at any age, from any state. A man does not even have to be sexually attracted to you to respond to it. I know old mentors that could get entire communities of people doing things they did not really want to do because they understood it. To 80 and 90, they're powerful. Step into your power, ladies. If a man doesn't want to do the right thing, turn him over to the higher masculine powers. Period. You got your choice from your house, the White House, the State House, and God's house. And I'm not talking about the building. Don't bother to argue with people when it's not necessary for you to do that. Stay calm, stay beautiful. Turn people over and move on. The proper masculine is out there. Seek circles of healed men and be a healed woman and enjoy. All right. That's a lot, I know, just like the Kevin Durant video. But we really have to try to get an understanding so that we can live the most healthy lives that we can. Y'all enjoy your day now. Goodbye.